Okay, right. So there's my completed, very short and messy 50-second sequence. And this is, as I say, an 8K sequence. If we go to our sequence settings here, you'll see at the top, it's 7680 by 4320. So let's try and export this now and see what happens. If I do too much, it's going to probably throw the tutorial software, and it won't be happy with that. But I'm just going to try and... Can you export to MP4? Can you export to MP4 in 8K? I don't know whether I even know whether MP4 supports. Oh, sorry, not H.264, not MP4. Whether it supports 8K. I don't know, I guess it does. No, doesn't seem to. So the maximum I'm going to be able to export here is 4K. So give me a second, because I'm going to have to look into this. What can we use? I can't export to H.264 because look, if I'm just doing match source here, I'm just saying match source on everything, and it won't let me because my source is too big. Am I going to have to export this to like ProRes or something? I could do it to uncompressed, but that would just be enormous. I'm not sure what the best one to do. Maybe someone can come back to me and say what the best codec for 8K is, if anyone cares. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll do it to ProRes for now. I'll do it to this Windows version of ProRes. So I imagine that does support. Yeah, it certainly seems to. So this is 422 HQ, and it's the Windows version of ProRes. It's made by this company. I think they've actually been taken over or bought by somebody now, so I don't think it's supported anymore. But this is the latest version of the codec, and it's great because it means you can produce proper ProRes output from a Windows PC. So our source audio is 48, even though the actual track is 44.1, doesn't matter. And codec uncompressed. I'm just checking all the settings here. We'll do it at 50 frames a second. I'm not sure whether YouTube supports that at 8K, but we'll upload it and see what happens. 48-bit, fine. Maximum render quality. Let's just see how this see how this does. So I'll hit export. Oh, unknown error. Right. Don't know why. Cancel that. I'm going to quickly save this, actually, so I don't have to mess about doing it again. I'll come back to you in a second, okay? Well, you can tell how unprepared we are for 8K at this time. I didn't realize this, but we look at the Apple website and look at about Apple ProRes. So all Apple ProRes codecs support any frame size, including SD, HD, 2K, 4K, and 5K. So ProRes doesn't support 8K. So even ProRes 4444XQ, which has that really high bit rate, doesn't support 8K. So how am I going to export this? Am I going to have to do it raw? It's a good job I didn't do it very long because it's going to be enormous. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to get this up to YouTube now. I'm going to have to. Yeah, we'll see. So give me a second. I'm going to take a look into this, and I will pause for a moment and get back to you. Okay, so here's the answer, which I probably should have thought of originally. Actually, is high efficiency video coding, and that is H.265. Really, it's the better version. I can't even think of a better word than better. The better version of H.264. It's the newer version. And if we look down, scroll down this page here, we will see that, where is the, oh, here we go. So these are the levels, which different levels in codecs have to support different frame rates and different resolutions and chroma subsampling and things. And if we look here, we've got 7680 by 4320 supported by level 6 and above, according to this. So if I go back to Premiere now, Premiere does actually have an HEVC option. I didn't realize that. That must be fairly recent, because I'm sure that hasn't been there in the past, but then again, I probably wouldn't have looked for it either. So I've done it as match source, and it's put it to level 6.1 there, you can see. So 50 frames a second at level 6.1. And the bit rate is going to have to be, I would have thought for 8K, fairly high. So I'm going to set that to 50 megabits. It probably won't need it. Maybe you won't need that for this kind of content. And quality highest, of course. Keyframe distance, I'll just leave that as is. Audio, still our standard AAC audio on here, it seems. AAC plus. Oh, right, okay. And let's give that a go, shall we? Everything right? Yeah. Oh, good grief. Right, so it seems to be doing it, but I'm not going to make you wait for the 15 minutes it says it'll take. So let's spin on. I thought it was worth noting at this point that this has now increased to 46 minutes. Now it's got to doing the actual content and not just the fade in or whatever. And oh gosh, yeah, this is getting a bit laggy now. So my CPU usage is up at 100%, which is pretty good actually. So it is doing something, and hopefully it's producing some good quality 8K output. So I'll just leave this running for the next 45 minutes and see you in a moment. All right, we're now still at 1 hour 37 minutes to do this job. I should say we're not still at that, it's increasing, and already probably 10 or 20 minutes has passed. So I'm not sure how long this is really going to take. So what have we learned from this just so far? Well, it seems that Premiere itself can support it, and the graphics card is doing a good job of rendering very basic stuff, you know, rendering a basic fast blur. I'm not sure whether, if it was video content, whether the hard drive would be fast enough for the content to be read directly off the hard drive. It depends what format it was in, if it was 8K content. And codec-wise, there isn't actually as much support as I thought there was for 8K. So ProRes doesn't support 8K yet. H.264 doesn't, and I'm having to encode this in H.265. And I'm hoping that YouTube will let me upload it in H.265. But of course, then there's a question of how big the footage will be. I don't know how big this is going to be and how large the file will be in H.265. And I also don't know whether I've set my bitrate correctly for 8K. So if I end up with a 6 gig file, it's going to take me some time to upload it to YouTube, if at all. So I've kind of got a number of problems here as I'm going along, which is sort of meaning that, well, I'm really not sure how I'll do on this. But I'll stick with it, let this run, and I will see whether we can get a final output to put on YouTube. So at this point, I thought it might be good to just look at utilization again. So we can see that the memory stayed pretty much the same at 10.6 gig. The CPU usage is happily pretty much flatlining there at 100%. Closing that down, looking at GPU-Z, well, actually, this doesn't seem to be doing too much. I'm not too sure on this one. The performance cap reason as utilization, and this looks like it's kind of something's right up at the top, but I'm not sure why this is a different color from this. I don't use GPU-Z enough to know that. But the load, GPU load, is obviously extremely low. The fan speed's low, the temperature's low. It's really doesn't seem to be doing anything with the GPU at all. And we're not really getting much further here either. So what I think I'm going to do at this point, because it's just taking so long, is I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to try exporting it using the slower settings. Using the faster settings and see whether that makes any difference. So I'm going to cancel that. See whether it cancels gracefully now or whether it now hangs Premiere for me. Place your bets, please. Place your bets. Appreciate you've got a bit of memory to release and all that sort of nonsense, but please can you just cancel gracefully and not hang? Well, to anyone that uses Premiere, I bet this isn't much of a surprise at all. We've got a not responding, grayed out Windows. I'm just going to click on close and it says Adobe Premiere CC 2015-1 is not responding. Great, so let's close that. Open it up again. Oh, and it's opened full res. Of course it has. So I'm now going to have to drop this into here and expand it out because this is a pain. Right, so there's our sequence all working happily. So what I'm going to try and do now is export this again, but use some slightly less hopeful settings. Move this into the tutorial window. This has ended up being an extremely long video. So obviously H.264 is not going to work, so we need to move to H.265. Match source. Okay, so it's the video settings. I'm going to still do this at 50 megabits because I want to make sure at least I give this enough a bit rate. And I'm going to say lowest quality because I'm just going to have to do this so it's a bit quicker. Hopefully it'll still be good quality. And will it have a file? Is there a file it needs to replace? I don't know. I'll do this as a different file name anyway. All right, let's try that again. So it looks like render times are kind of a bit ridiculous if you set the quality to highest. We were getting kind of 2 hours, 2.5 hours for a 42 second clip, which didn't have many effects on it. That's crazy in my view. I think if you're a production company and you've got better cards, better computers, and more time to just leave things running, it's probably okay. But to me, that's far too long to wait. So this quality, however, the lowest quality, has done it in about 6 or 7 minutes, which is pretty good. So let this wrap up and let's see how big the file is. Well, I've got the file here and I can't show it on screen, but it's 226 meg. So not too bad. I'm going to bring up media info and see whether it supports this. I'll drop it into there. And what does it tell us? It tells us it's, yeah, there we go, 226 meg, 42 seconds, HEVC, and there we go, we got our width 7680 by 4320, 16:9, 50 frames a second, chroma subsampling 420, as you would expect on the H.265 codec. And yeah, so that seems to have outputted fine. So in summary, you know, as far as TV displays go, 4K is already it's a little bit extreme at the moment. Unless you've got a TV that's 50 or 60 inches in size, you're not really going to notice much difference unless you watch really closely. On monitors, of course, it allows you to view content that you may be shooting in that resolution, and it allows you to see a lot more detail in pictures that are already shot at that sort of resolution. Cameras are now kind of 50 megapixels plus in standard SLR format, not just medium format. So, you know, it makes a lot more sense in a computer monitor. And 8K, well, TV display is going to have to be 80, 90, 100 inches in size to really benefit from that. So we're a long way off that at this point. But, you know, we're here to embrace this technology, give it a go, give it a try, see whether the computer can deal with it, what the limitations are and all that sort of thing. So that's what this video was about. And I haven't sort of, I know from doing this that I'm not going to be using it anytime soon, but and I'd definitely need to upgrade my PC if I was. But I will upload the clip to YouTube, see whether it exports, see whether it will happily deal with an H.265 file, and see whether it will come out at 8K. And you'll see that. In fact, I'll upload it first, and I'll link to the video above. Well, since recording the screen there, I've since found out that YouTube doesn't actually support H.265, so I tried to upload the 8K output to YouTube and had no luck at all. So I've now gone back, and I'm trying this out in Handbrake, and that's with the X264 rather than H.264 library. And I'm going to see whether that supports 8K, because so far it hasn't thrown up an error. So hopefully that might allow me to output in X264 and upload that to YouTube. I don't know. I'm just not quite sure how to get this content onto YouTube. I'm sure there's a way, but I don't want to export losslessly because it'll just be too big and I can't be bothered waiting for it to upload. So that's the update. I'll let you know how it goes. So fingers crossed that seems to have worked. It has uploaded now. It has saved from Handbrake, and it is playing as H.264 X264, and I'm uploading it to YouTube. So I don't know. Hopefully it'll be okay. I'm not sure what the quality is going to be like now, because I wasn't quite sure what the quality of the original was like, and I don't think I've probably made too many improvements by re-encoding that one. But as I say, this is all experimentation. It's the first time I've worked with 8K footage. In fact, it's the first time I've done anything really with H.265 as well. So all a question of learning. So if you have any more experience or any better ideas on how this would work, then do comment and let me know. And as I said, thank you for watching. And if you enjoy what we do, please do subscribe to the channel. See you soon.